Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Nabila Safia Azahra and I'm from Group 5. Here we would like to presenting our topic about narrating, and we have 6 members which are Firly, Deisna, Fira, Sasi, and Hilal. So for the first material will be presented by Sasi. Sasi, time is yours, please.
Thank you, Nabila. Definition of narrating. A definition of narrating is a type of writing that describes a past happening or event. And next. And next, narrating types. There is two. One, narrative. Narrative is text suggests tell us a story. The purpose of narrative is to entertain. Narrative often contain a moral of a message and also educates the readers. And second, recount. Recount is a text that retell its events or experience in the past. The purpose of a recount can be informing, entertaining, or reflecting. And next, there is narrative structure. The narrative structure, there is orientation and gives the background of the story. The character, place, and time are introduced in the orientation. And next, there is complication or conflict. In this part, the main character are confronted with a problem. And next, resolution describe how the character resolve the problems. And last, there is coda. Coda is summarize the narrative and marks the end. Next, there is structure of recount. The first is orientation. Describe the background of the event that you are telling. In introduce the setting, character, and time period. Next, there is events. The series of events that happened in the past is a chronological order. And last, there is reorientation. It can be a summary of the evaluative comments. That's all from me. For the next.
All right, Sasi, thank you for your explanation. And for the next material will be presented by me is about types of narrating. Types of narratives. First of all, I would like to say sorry because I can't turn on my camera because my connection isn't really well. Okay. So before I tell you guys about types of narrative, I would like to explain what is narrative. So narrative is a story that you write or tell to someone, and usually in a great detail. And it's presented 4 types of narrative on the screen. There are myth, legends, fable, and adventure stories. For the first one is myth, and the second one is legend. Both of them are stories or narratives that are passed from one generation to another. The main difference between myth and legend is that myth is a traditional narrative, particularly one concerning the early history of people or explaining a natural or social phenomenon, and typically involving supernatural characters or event, whereas legend is a traditional narrative, sometimes commonly regarded as historical but not authenticated. Greek mythology is a good example of myth, and for the example of legends, maybe you are all familiar with the story of Rama and Sinta. And next type is fable. It is a short story, typically with animals as a character. And for the example of the story, the intelligent buffalo, and so on. And the last one is adventure stories. It is an adventure story that tells the tale of protagonist's journey. They go on adventure or quest, and for example, there is a Star Wars story. That's all my explanation. For the next material, we will be presented by Desna, right? So for Desna, times is yours, please.
Okay, thanks to Nabila. So I want to explain about type of recount. The first is personal recount. Personal recount is the text which is retell an event that the reader was personally involved in or personal experience the reader. And this type of text that is often found in recount writing, and this text should be told detail to help readers understand this text. And this text is use simple past. The next is factual recount text. This text is related event that occur based on the fact of something that really happened, like recording an incident. Example is science experiments or police report. The next is imaginative recount text. This text is writing an imaginary role and giving details of events or about the imagination of the reader or her fantasy or something else. The next is procedural recount. This text is retell the steps that have led to something happening, like show something was made, show something was picked, writing up the science experiment. And the next is literary recount. This text is similar to a factual recount. Both type of recounts give detail about what happened, including who was involved, when and where the event took place, and what may have result. A literary recount can be about real or fictional event and character. A literary recount is different from a factual recount because it includes more than just facts. The example is short stories and novels, biographies and letters, fables, myths and legends, play, films, and television programs, and so on. Okay, that's all from me. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Desna. And for the next material will be presented by Hilal.
Okay, thank you,
Hilal,
Nabila.
time is yours, please.
Okay, thank you for Nabila for letting me to presenting the material. Okay, I will explain the grammatical features of narrative and recontext. So the first is in narrating typically uses first action verb. As we can see for the example here, all of the verb is action verb. And then the second is temporal connectives. For example, we then looked at games and equipment. After lunch, we walked up to the Sydney Morning Herald and saw how they make papers. After that, we caught the train back to the Marrickville. So the words such as then, after, and then after that, that is temporal connectives. And then the second grammatical feature is recount and stories using past tense, unless quoting direct speech. Here, the example, all of the sentences using past tense except the direct speech. And then the third grammatical feature is in action sequences, mainly action verbs are used while in the reflection or evaluation. Mental verbs are predominant. For example, bells were ringing, sirens screeching, and people were running everywhere. Maria didn't know what to do next. She thought about her mother and wondered what was in her head. in here, the first and the second sentence using action verb, and then the third sentence using mental verbs. And then the fourth grammatical features is narrative often use action verb metaphorically to create effective images. For example, it was a terrible argument. Words were flying everywhere. So it's enough from me. Thank you. Back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Hilal. Get along to the next material who will be presented by Fira. So for Fira, time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Narrative often use rhythm and repetition to create particular effect. For example, it's writing. The boy ran riding across the wintry moor, far away from the strife of his unhappy home. Play with sentence structures is another common feature of narrative. Often, sentences comprising one word or a short phrase are used to create pregnant effect. For example, is anger silence, as the Vengeful brothers prose, the street. Russ slowly opened the old wooden door. Dark, there was nothing but black. Next, as you can see in here, there are three material about narrative. For the first one is orientation, marked with red text. Once there was an old man, his wife has died and he had married again. The man had one son and his stepmother had a daughter. For the second material is event, which is marked in blue text, is one day the man and his son went collecting firewood. They saw a golden tree. They went slowly over to the tree. When they got closer to the tree, they heard a voice coming from the tree. This is what the tree said. Go north for 1.5 miles. There you will find a fairy wearing gold ring. You must take the ring and make a wish. And for the last is resolution, marked with a green text. They done just as the fairy had said, and they live happily ever after. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fira. And for the last presenter, and of course the last material will be presented by Fira. Time is yours.
Okay, Nabila, thank you for the time. So here I want to give some example for the recount text. So wait a minute. There is a recount text with the title "A Trip to the National Zoo and Aquarium." As you can see, in the screen there are three structures in the recount text. First is the orientation, second sequence of events, and third reorientation. I will read it one by one by the structures. First, the orientations. My family and I went to the National Zoo and Aquarium to visit the new snow cubs and the other animals. That was the orientations, and I will read the sequence of events till the reorientations. In the morning, when we got to the zoo and aquarium, there was a great big line, so we had to wait a while to get in. After we entered the zoo, we went straight to the enclosure for the snow cubs. My brother and I were so excited to see them. They were so cute and playful. At lunchtime, Dad decided to cook a barbecue. He cooked sausages so we could have sausage sandwiches. My mom forgot to the tomato sauce, so we had to eat them plain. In the afternoon, we visited the aquarium. My brother was excited to see the sharks and the tropical fish. That was the sequence of events, and at last, I will read the reorientations. At the end of the day, when we left, we were going to go and get ice cream, but we decided we were too tired, so we drove straight home. But of course, I was very happy. That was the reorientation. So that's all from me. Back to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Firly. And well, finally, this brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you for all your attention. Have a nice day.